Pluto and Aquarius trine natal sun in Gemini. When Pluto forms a harmonious aspect with the natal sun, it's not about a dramatic transformation that shatters you. It's about a deep, almost silent redirection of inner power. And when the sun is in Gemini, that power isn't measured through physical strength or bold moves, but through thought, word, and the way we connect reality with meaning. What once was curiosity and mental play now begins to mature into something more serious, not heavy, but essential. Pluto doesn't silence the Gemini mind, it focuses it. It quiets the noise and makes space for the real thought to emerge. Psychologically, this is a time when the person starts to experience the mind not as a tool for exchanging information, but as a vessel of consciousness. Few may notice the change, but the person feels it, like an inward pull, a withdrawal of energy from scattered stimuli, and a turning inward. Words slow down, but gain precision. Conversations become rarer, but more valuable. The desire to be understood diminishes, but understanding deepens. This is a phase of ego refinement. Gemini by nature wants to be interesting, informed, involved. But now those impulses are being questioned. Am I speaking to be heard, or because I have something to say? Am I thinking or just thinking that I'm thinking? Pluto doesn't strike, it penetrates. And when it reaches the root, the sun begins to shine more deeply, not brighter, but more truly. Like lighting a candle in a dark room. It doesn't cause a sensation, but it changes the atmosphere. In relationships, this shift is felt as increased intuition, but not emotional intuition, rather mental. You sense when someone is lying, escaping, or defending. Not to judge, but to understand. You begin to listen with an inner ear, speak with inner authority, and withdraw from superficial interactions without the need to explain why. That withdrawal isn't coldness. It's a new warmth that no longer seeks outside validation. At its core, this is a phase of psychological integration. All the fragments of self that once sought attention, the voices, roles, thoughts, now gather around an inner sun. And that sun doesn't say, "Look at me." It simply shines, with quiet certainty, with maturity that needs no proof. So even though this transit doesn't make noise, it makes a difference. When it passes, you'll no longer need to be clever, you'll be wise. You won't strive to be interesting, you'll be real. And everyone who meets you will feel that, even if they can't explain it. Even though Pluto is a planet that mostly works beneath the surface, this harmonious aspect to the sun, especially in a mental, adaptable air sign like Gemini, knows how to materialize quietly but powerfully. No drama, no fanfare. Just like that, one day you'll realize you're on a different level, that others look at you with new seriousness, that you no longer have to prove yourself, and because of that, your influence grows. You may find yourself in situations where people trust you with deep matters, psychological support, advice, conflict resolution. Even if you're not in a professional role, people will approach you with trust. They'll feel that your words carry weight, not because you sound smart, but because you speak from a true place within. If you work in writing, speaking, communication, or any form of education, this transit can lift your credibility to a new level. Not necessarily fame or mass popularity, but genuine respect with lasting impact. You might write something people remember, or say something that shifts their thinking. Professionally, you might be called to act as a mediator, strategist, researcher, or guide, not necessarily by title, but by nature. You may be brought into processes where others feel lost, but with just a few words or a precise analysis, you bring order to chaos. Especially if you work in media, psychology, science, education, technology, or research, your ability to see beneath the surface will be critical. Financially, Pluto doesn't usually bring sudden luck, but in trine to the sun, it can bring gradual, stable growth in income through meaningful work, especially if that work requires psychological maturity, discretion, or analysis. It's not about money that comes easily, but about the power to generate it yourself. Once you accept your inner worth, you may also find yourself in a position of influence within a group or community, especially related to knowledge, education, or progressive ideas, Aquarius. People will want to hear you, not because of charm, but because of the gravity of your presence. And you, even though you're a Gemini and don't like being trapped in roles, will start to accept that influence is not a burden, but a gift if used consciously. Even your presence in space changes. You're not loud. You don't need to explain. But when you enter a room, the energy shifts. People become more attentive. They want to hear what you have to say. And you, without effort, say exactly what needs to be heard. This transit won't make you famous, but it can make you truly influential, where ideas, perspectives, and lives shift. No masks, no noise, just you. Centered, present, mature. In love, this transit doesn't come to wake you from a dream, but to call you to stay awake in love. And that's much rarer. Geminis naturally love through the mind, words, touch, shared interests. But now something unusual happens. You begin to feel presence where before there was just communication. This is a time when love doesn't have to be a storm to be real. You might meet someone who doesn't seem exciting at first glance, but the conversation goes deeper than habit. You don't measure it by thrill, but by resonance. And you realize that true passion has nothing to do with euphoria, but with deep psychological presence, with not needing to explain everything. The silence between two words that says more than the whole conversation. If you're already in a relationship, you'll feel there's no more room for playing roles. You no longer want to be interesting, but authentic. You don't care if your partner is impressed. You care if they can see you even when you're not perfect. And if they can't, something in you no longer wants to stay convinced. Not out of anger, but out of maturity. This trine brings a quiet letting go of love that feeds on facades. But if the relationship has potential, this transit deepens intimacy, not through emotion, but through truth. Conversations become deeper, secrets come to light, not like bombs, but like liberation. There's a trust that needs no measure. Love becomes a space where there's no acting, only being. If you're single, this is a time when you might attract someone who carries no spectacle, but has depth. Someone who sees you, not as a body, not as an idea, but as a being. And for the first time, you might feel that someone isn't falling in love with what you represent, but with what you are, beneath all the words and stories. That might feel scary, but also freeing. A deepest love shift this transit brings is that you stop seeking to be understood and begin to love from a place that seeks nothing. From there, love no longer binds. It is no longer a need. It is presencia. If Pluto is activating the light of your sun, it means the love you attract now isn't here to complete you, but to see you. And you, after who knows how many lifetimes of trying, are finally ready to let it in. Not as a story, but as truth. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe. Here we talk about astrology that goes beyond horoscopic cliches, diving into the psychology, the essence behind every sign and aspect. And if you feel that astrology is just one piece of a bigger picture, if you're searching for deeper insight into the soul, the ego, and the evolution of human consciousness, then check out my second channel, Evolution of Consciousness. There, we don't talk about planets. We talk about who you are behind all the roles. You'll find the link below the video. I'll see you there too.